Hi guys, welcome to Tamra's Tarot Variety. Please forgive my appearance. I am so tired. I've been running around all day today. I'm exhausted today. Well, now we're going into, it's very late here in New York. We're going into October 30th. So I believe right now it's October 30th. Yeah, it's past midnight. So I believe Halloween will be celebrated mostly tonight. So Saturday night. Right now, here in New York, the weather is crazy. The wind is howling. It's really crazy. And I have messages from Jesus. Sorry, a message just came in as I said that. So I just recently made a video with warnings from Jesus, and Jesus wanted me to clarify the warnings, and I've been putting off doing this. I've been very busy, but anyway, he asked me to get these messages out, and they're controversial, and you know, I've asked him several times if I have to do this. And of course he's like, you don't have to do it, but he wants me to. So okay. Something that Jesus would like to say is, people who don't believe in evil, he's like, that's not how I said it. He said it funny. He said, people who don't believe in evil are victims. And he's trying to, he's like, he's talking to me right now. He's just trying to make like a quote. He's saying he wants to be like Shakespearean. He wants that quote to be remembered. So I think I'll put that in the thumbnail. But oh my goodness, I'm having like an allergy thing with my eyes. I'm so tired. He's like, get on with it. So okay, I'm just gonna be more specific in what is going on right now. So I talked a lot about random violence and fires, in addition to all of the crazy weather that's going on. But like I said in my last video, it's not so random. And there are a few different things going on. Well, you know, there's a lot going on, but Jesus, please don't be offended. Jesus just wanted me to focus on this specific topic for Halloween. And it's very hard for me to do it because I understand how, this is like a blanket. I understand how, we understand how sensitive race relations are right now. So I don't want to stir the pot with that. But, and this isn't about race because there are many different races involved. But anyway, Jesus really wants me to highlight for Halloween what's going on with gangs. And right now he's talking about the, you know, we see all this gang activity in Haiti. Jesus is saying that could, if we don't stop gang activity, or stop and slow down, the gang activity here in the States, that we could be Haiti. And I know that sounds crazy, but he's just showing me these different scenarios, and showing me, like, how they show those electronic maps, like for the phone usage or internet, and it goes out. Well, he said that, here in the States, that gangs are uniting, and so different, there is still division and there's interfighting, but they're uniting for some common causes. And of course it's drugs, money, power, but there's this movement going on in the gangs, and Jesus kept talking to me about it, and I kept hearing like GTA, like thinking it was like, Grand Theft Auto, which a lot of people understand that many people are acting it out. So I thought it was that, but it's actually Jesus was so tired. He clarified it was GATM, okay? So it's a movement, and it's called Get All the Money. So this movement has grown. It's grown from, well, I don't want to get too far into it, and I don't want to excuse bad behavior. That's why it's really hard to talk about this, because there is what has led up to this problem. And in general, there's like, so hard to say, like, there are justifiably things that have led up to some of the issues, but then Jesus doesn't want people to be victims of this violence, these attacks that have started happening and will continue to happen. So what is Get All the Money? It's retribution for real and unreal, justified and unjustified experiences. So, oh goodness, I mean, how do I say this? Some people will be targeted because of the color of their skin, and so Get All the Money. So this movement is, they feel the gang members and people who are either wanting to be gang members or just agree with gang members, maybe they're on the peripheral edges, agree that that their problems are caused by race and, things that happened in the past, slavery, all that stuff. So they feel justified now in this movement, get all the money. And it's been going on for a while, and around like October 13th it was solidified, and Jesus is saying tomorrow, Halloween, it could really blow up. So behaviors to look for, circumstances to look for are robberies, with a weapon, slashings. I'm trying not to I don't want my channel to get banned. Carjackings. I said before, things will seem random fires, explosions. I mean, guys, like, think about, especially if you're older, think about in your childhood, how often did you hear of explosions? In New York, it's every day. Oh, there's an explosion, there's an electrical fire, oh, there's a basement fire. This is arson, guys, and it's just so frustrating, because it's not that I want to be the call-out queen, but you have to call a spade, and people are going to get hurt. Like, Jesus wants me to bring these messages forward, and it's not an attack. It's not an attack even on gangs. Like, it's just, this is happening, and Jesus doesn't think that it's fair, and it's dangerous, and he wants these messages out. So fires, there have been circumstances in New York where people's apartment buildings have been set on fire, and nobody knows like what happened. But these are planned, and oftentimes they are either started in the basement or on the roof. They're using fireworks. An M80 was thrown at 2 officers last month. And the thing is many people do know this is happening, but many people don't. They just think that this is just random. Obviously, sorry, I have to gather my thoughts to see what I've already said. People are being targeted. People are being stalked. Single women, sorry to say, guys, single white women are being targeted. They're being stalked. Obviously, Jesus told me to be careful, and I'm telling you guys. And this is in retribution, and I know it's not politically correct, but it's happening. And he said I wasn't specific enough in the last video, like when I talked about the rent moratorium. So for people who have, for some specifically like gang members and people of that ilk, think about if they haven't paid rent and they're feeling like they want vindication for what happened in the past, to their ancestors, or they're feeling like their opportunities were reduced because of their race, or what have you. Whatever the reason is, many are feeling justified in not paying rent, and it's all blending together because there has been some justification because of the economy, because of the virus, but it's also out of control, it's being exaggerated, and the opposite is happening with some, and I'm only telling you this as a warning, that when the moratorium is up, the people may retaliate against the landlord by setting the whole building on fire. And I know this sounds crazy, but in my last video, I just kept listing news story after news story after I made the video, and it was just crazy. And I would love to hear what you all think in the comments, because I feel like I'm going out on a limb talking about this stuff, and I don't really know what to say or what to do, because I believe in equality, and but right now race relations are just bad, and Jesus just wants me to tell you all just to be really careful, and be really careful. I guess it would be tonight, which is Saturday night, October 30th. And he also wants you to know that oftentimes mediums, psychics, they're given the really, there are such things as timelines and what could happen. And Jesus will show me like movies of what could happen in a certain timeline. And this is spiritual warfare, guys. And I'm going to come on and talk more about that. But on the other side, they're trying to prevent things from happening. And that's why they use mediums. We're messengers. And they use all kinds of methods to even directly sending messages to people who are planning on doing things. Because they're trying to stop this drama. So if you hear messages from mediums of like this will happen or that will happen, sometimes it's sorry, I love weird words like thwarted. But sometimes it is, but don't feel like the messages aren't real. Sometimes the messages are what could happen, and what Jesus is saying could happen is very serious. We're talking about random fires, explosions, robberies, beatings, and think about what's happening in Haiti, all of that. But there's also now a lot of the gang members are connecting with each other for these movements and helping each other. So people could really be ambushed, and some people could be stalked for a while. So please pay attention to your surroundings. Please pay attention to people around you. Please try to watch a channel that tells you how to prevent crime and what to look for, because oftentimes the methods are similar. How to protect yourself, how to protect your home, what to look for, how to know if you're being targeted. And Jesus says there's nothing good about sacrificing yourself to make a point, or we can't make up for things that happened in the past by being a sacrificial lamb. And he wants to go back to, he's talking about things that happened in the past with the disciples and John the Baptist, where they did sacrifice themselves, and Jesus doesn't want that to continue. Jesus does want peace, but not peace at any price. I think Dr. Phil says that. Yeah, Jesus said that. But there is a way to be smart and protect yourself and be peaceful. And Jesus says, this Halloween or this Saturday, unless you live in a very safe place and you're going out early, it just might be a Halloween just to, he's saying it might be really sketchy. It just might be one that you sit out. And if you're on the spiritual path, and like he said, it's spiritual warfare. And I know that the people who watch my channel are on the spiritual path. So he's saying now people who are on the spiritual path can really be targets because of the willingness, the compassion, maybe where you live or the activities you're involved in, if you think about it. And I do want to channel Natalie Holloway, because she's come through to me and she's talked about just how open she was and friendly, and we all know what happened to her, and she just had an open spirit, and she thought everyone was her friend. And so I've talked about that. I talked about that with Shanann Watts. So Spirit keeps drawing my attention to that, and Spirit would just like us to tighten up our boundaries. And it's not about being exclusive, it's just about knowing what's going on around you and what the intentions of others are. So, like I mentioned before, I'm talking about gangs. I'm not talking about like regular, like, you know, guys, most people just want to do well. They want their family to do well. This is of all races. You know, the majority, even in Haiti, with what's happening, or in Afghanistan, like the majority of people want to succeed, want to do well. And it's the handful of like bad apples, bad actors that are taking like a justifiable thing, and then it's actually doing their community a disservice, because they're actually not, you know, I guess gang banging. I hope this doesn't get taken down. They're not doing those activities to help their community. It's hurting their community. And nothing good can come of it. I'm not talking about protests. I'm talking about like the level that this has gotten to. I mean, what's happening on the streets and what could be happening very soon is like what you would see in Grand Theft Auto, which is just nuts, but it's actually happening. Like, people are, I can cite articles if you want me to, you know, make a comment, but people are just driving down the road in cars and scooters, skateboards, bicycles, and just taking people out, hit and runs. It's like every day there's a handful of hit and runs in New York, and it's going to be happening other places. It's not random, guys. It's planned. And I just don't want to see people get hurt, and I'm willing to look like a jerk just to save people. And I think that's why a lot of people are getting hurt, because they don't want to look like a jerk. So anything crazy that you can see happen in Grand Theft Auto, and even, guys, it can get really bad, like what's happening in Haiti, where like kidnapping, robbery, loss of life. How do I put this without getting in trouble? The R word that happens to women. And also, guys, so if these gangs are doing this activity, and also there's, you know, drugs involved, like really heavy, expensive drugs, so that that makes it sort of easier to do those crimes if you're either on something, or oftentimes it's more like you're coming down and withdrawing. which causes a lot of anger, and emotional distress, and you want to get more of the substance. So those substances are very expensive, and so that's the motive there. And then this get all of the money is imagine that scenario. Get all the money. What does that mean? Going out, leaving your house, and it's basically shopping, just looking at people like, I want that watch, I want those sneakers, I want money from this store, I want this, I want that, and just taking it. The laws have been loosened in many places, so that's happening. The consequences. This is just a big... Jesus keeps showing me like Hiroshima. It's just this ticking time bomb. And then we have the protests of the police and law enforcement because of the vaccines. So I would just say, please stay safe. And then Jesus keeps telling me, fright night, fright night, fright night. And I don't think that's Halloween per se. I think there's okay. So he's saying Halloween might just be nutso as far as like violence and burglaries, the R word, things like that. Just a lot of attacks. But when the rent moratorium is over, that might be when we see more like fires and explosions. And he's saying that they're experimenting with it now, figuring out what works, what doesn't, how law enforcement is responding, and also random just explosions. And it could be like government buildings, and places that people have lived. It's like vengeance because of the moratorium, and they're getting kicked out because they haven't paid rent. So if you think there's might be some activity in your building, just please be careful. That's another thing. It's like in some cities especially, there is this snitches get stitches type thing going on too. It's just a perfect storm. People wanting to mind their own business, which is noble. And it's not about spreading gossip, but if you know that you have neighbors and they're doing substances and not paying their rent and stuff, that could be like a recipe for disaster for your building or for you. What else? I always forget stuff, and then I have to make a whole new video. And Jesus will reprimand me, and I don't take good notes. So sorry if I seem unprepared, but I wasn't planning on making a video tonight. I have a lot going on and I'm tired. Okay, what else? I just want to make sure I get everything. Oh yeah, he's talking about the fake accidents on the road, like the fender bender, the fake fender bender, and then you get robbed or carjacked, or if you're like a small single woman, just please be careful. You're vulnerable right now. Everyone's vulnerable. And if you're thinking like, well, what about this or what about that? There's all kinds of things going on. I just wanted to make people aware of this, because for some reason, like, a lot of people don't really like to talk about gangs and substances right now. It's uncomfortable. But this is a big thing. Like, this could get to epic proportions. This could get to Haiti proportions. And you've got to think, like, there must have been a time there, you know, where they didn't know that it was going to get, guys, like, if you have like gangs and it's not being stopped, that's the level it can get to. That's the level it can get to. Like, we think this person has money, or kidnap them and do all kinds of things to them, and, you know, ask for ransom. And guys, those things happen if society doesn't stop it. And you know, I've mentioned before, I have never been like a crime buff, a true crime buff, anything like that. That's just, it just wasn't my interest. But Jesus has like made it my interest now, which was like the last thing that I thought that he would be harping on. But he wants to keep us safe, and especially he doesn't want me to mince words. He's saying especially people on the spiritual path. Many live alone. Many reach out to those they feel might need their help. The boundaries might be more open. And, you know, there's also people on the spiritual path who live in very, very protected areas with other people who are on the spiritual path. So, you know, I want to cover all my bases in this conversation, this uncomfortable conversation. There must be subscribers who are vulnerable for Jesus to just keep asking me to talk about this. And of course, he's talked to me about it, because I've had some sketchy situations. So just be very careful. I'm not celebrating Halloween tomorrow. I'm just gonna lay low, and I don't want to be a party pooper. And especially if you live somewhere safe and you're not going to be out super late. But Jesus wanted me to mention that this is the 20s and we did have, you know, the pandemic. So do expect in the future like a roaring 20s type vibe to come back, but it's going to get darker before that. And all I'm doing is telling you guys that you could be a target. Watch what you're wearing, where you are, and what you're, you know, if people are out there shopping, like you go shopping to a store, but you're shopping people, and you're saying, oh, that person has this and that and I want it. Yeah, now I'm just rambling. So I hope you guys get it. And if you really do care about this stuff and you're concerned and maybe you're feeling the same vibe, you can watch my last video where I talked about this. And then I put a very small fraction of videos that I kept seeing after that of the crimes that Jesus was talking about. Anyway, guys, this is really going on for a long time. Please leave me a comment if you're feeling this, if you've gotten the same messages. Don't be coy and shy. I would love the validation to know that you're getting similar messages. I have listened to other mediums and they're talking about this and they're beating around the bush like I am. It's very scary. But anyway, that's it. And I'm sure there's more, but just be careful. So I have talked about, I think I talked about natural disasters in my 2021 forecast. So we've covered that. I actually saw bridges, and then I recently saw like a bridge in North Carolina in 2021 that fell apart. But I saw bridges and then this Grand Theft Auto, but it is many of you might want to go online and see what they do in Grand Theft Auto. That's going to be acted out. It is being acted out in real life. But the mission is called Get All of the Money. And then there's another mission called Fright Night. So Get All of the Money is all of the crimes, the retribution, any sort of crime against people they feel that look like the type that has slighted them. And then the Fright Night is the fires, the explosions, and Gangs of New York. So it's in the Gangs of New York style too, where that movie Gangs of New York, it was about the gangs of New York that went around and set fire and committed crimes against people they perceived to be wealthy. But the thing that's happening now is they can't really get to the wealthy. The wealthy aren't available to be victimized. That's what it is. They're victimizing like people who are really just average people, and it's not fair. So yeah, okay, that's what it is now. Jesus says I can go. Okay, this is a really long one, and I really solidified it at the end. All right, guys, that is it, and I will talk to you soon. Happy Halloween.